Hey, what's going on, everybody, and welcome back to The Walking David. This is catching up, I think, week 4 or 5. But the point of this broadcast is to discuss that Alec is moving. Alec, you are moving from an apartment that you've been in pretty much ever since I knew you and Kyle. And tell us why, tell us how you feel about it, and let's tell some tales.
Well, as far as I feel about it, I'm glad to get out of this fucking dump. And for legal purposes, we won't say where it is, but it's a dump.
Yeah.
It's inside a dump. Like, it's on top of a dump. It's an apartment complex that's been built into the side of piles of trash like Wall-E.
Yeah, it's like the Hobbit hole, like in the Shire. If the Shire was a
land made out of trash,
if it was a landfill, if the Shire was located in the middle of Mordor, this is where it would be. But so to give the people some context, I mean, like I was saying at the very start, Alec has lived in this place pretty much like ever since we've been friends. There was like about a year and a half at the beginning of our friendship. We weren't best friends yet, so I think he was in a different location. That was back in your old apartment.
Yeah, the very first one, which was even more of a dump.
And then somewhere around, I'm wondering what. Do you remember what project maybe we were working on? Was it when you and I first worked on that set that you had just recently moved into your apartment, or was that a different time?
No, we moved into the apartment. Let's see, that would have been like 3-4 years ago. I'm pretty sure that was right at the end of my capstone.
Okay.
I think it was like right at the end of filming, or it was like technically school was done.
Yeah.
But I was still like editing the thing.
Yeah, that's right. And which was that Ray and Bill?
No, that was Night Drive was the last one that got done.
Okay. And
because Ray and Bill was the one that he rejected after I filmed 3/4 of it.
Yeah, the one that Kyle and I starred in.
Yeah.
And that was the first time I think Kyle and I had ever
interacted at all.
Yeah, really. It was. I think we had only interacted a couple of times before then, but that was the first time, at least on a set context, that we interacted at all. And it was fun. I mean, I think the funniest part in hindsight, looking back on that, was the gadgets that you built.
Yeah.
Can you
describe
some of these, or do you have a picture or anything?
They were a random assortment of PVC fixtures I had concocted with wires on them.
Nice.
That's the only way to describe it.
I remember my weapon of choice because, well, I don't know if you can recall the vague story of it, but wasn't it like two guys run into a ghost, basically? Or
no. I remember the fucker exactly.
Yeah, hey, well, tell me. I've since forgotten, so please enlighten me again.
A school was haunted because I chose to film in a school because that was like the best location.
Yeah, I mean,
so school was haunted, and so Ray and Bill ran into, I think the character's name was Randy. They ran into a guy.
Yeah,
and he was like someone they used to know, and he essentially offers to pay them money to help him catch the ghosts that are in this school.
Mm-hmm.
So it was in that sense. And so yeah, it was like I built this like really, really, really cheap Ghostbuster equipment.
It was
for the time in which in filmmaking we were all at, I would argue those were all right.
It wasn't. Listen, it wasn't the gadgets. the funny part was that this was Alec's pitch at the time, and I think even looking back now, he realized it would have been way above our station. Is he was like, "Oh, I'm gonna have it have like a blast wave come out when you point this
Yeah.
fucking thing."
Oh, it's that classic. It's that
Looked
classic.
like, it looked like, you know, the power button like on your computer, how sometimes it goes like a block and then it has this strand. It was like that. I remember holding it like this, and at the very end, it had like a pig's tail coil, and it was meant to kind of zap the ghost. And
Yeah.
the hardest part I remember for Alec, and I remember wondering if this was going to work at all. And I'm sure Alec remembers the nightmare of editing it. Was the ghost effect?
Yeah.
Explaining the ghost effect.
Well, the principle of it is you shoot a scene and then you shoot the scene without the actor, and essentially you because you're not moving the camera, you can make the actor look transparent without affecting the background. Now the problem with this was I had never attempted this before, and so we were working through all the like basic problems you run into when you do this and you don't know what you're doing.
I moved the camera by an inch. Is that bad?
Yeah, so it'd be stuff like that where it's like moves half an inch and you don't realize it until you're editing, and then you see that little blur on the edge of everything.
Oh, also, we had a scene. God, by the way, there's like a clip of the outtakes or something. Do you know what channel of yours that's on?
Oh fuck, I don't even remember, dude. But yeah, you're talking about the one where you guys you guys were giggling for like a solid like 20 minutes or some shit.
Dude, well, it was
That was the best. It was like you guys were supposed to be hiding and stuff, but you guys laughed at the dialogue for like 20 minutes.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, dude, what the hell? That was Kyle's delivery of things. Kyle, regardless if he knows it or not, has improved significantly as an actor. I think just from watching movies, period.
You know, hey, who are you to question his craft?
I think we all know the answer to that.
Who are you to question his craft? Do you have an Oscar? Do you have an Oscar?
What?
Do you have an Oscar?
Star power?
I don't think so. You know, Kyle's been in real movies, and you've been nearly hit by a car in Straight Outta Compton.
Yeah. Hey, what's that? What's that white blur walking across the street?
Who cares?
But so the other problem is that we were filming in a classroom that had the most fluorescent lighting in the world, and so it caused this vertical bars to pop up on the camera anytime Alec tried to do kind of a strobe effect, and it was just like
it was. I mean, a lot of it was just we didn't know what we were doing at the time.
Yeah, I remember my favorite shot of that whole thing. Well, there are two. I'll start actually with my second. Was I asked you if I could grab the camera and climb underneath the tables, like slide on these really uncomfortable omniplex sort of stairs. People won't get that reference, but omniplex sort of stairs. And I was like burning my chest, like sliding with the camera.
Yeah, because you're just like pure carpet and rubber going down.
Yeah, it was not good. I couldn't even fit under those tables right now. I'm too fat. So
yeah, it was an ambitious time.
With a glint in my eye. But when then there was another one where I did a pretty good stunt. I still think the stunt was pretty good.
Are you talking about the door?
Good. Describe to people if you remember what I'm talking about.
So essentially, the scene was David was supposed to like run down a hallway at full speed, and then because he's a dumb stoner character, he hits the door. And David like straight up like sold the door hit because he just bolts down at top speed. And then I'm surprised you caught it with your arm in time.
Yeah, it was because I run actually, I think, out of the classroom, and into the door, like
Yeah.
35 feet away, and then I do this barrel roll, like it completely, like the shot from the door, like flings me to the side, and I get back up, and I had to get up and go run. Um, and
And of course, the people that are working in the school while we're doing this, because we're doing this guerrilla style,
yeah,
where we're just kind of like in whatever hallway we can find to shoot this stuff.
yeah, they weren't very pleased.
Now, they were kind of annoyed.
It's hard to learn, you know, budgeting online while two kids are just like banging down the hallway.
Screaming, Bill, there's ghosts!
There's a ghost! Oh yeah, dude. Do you remember in the same set we had one of the weirdest interactions with a stranger ever, where a guy came up and he was talking to us, and he kind of pulled a Future War move. You know, where the guy in Future War steals the beer from the homeless man for no reason.
Yeah.
He goes, ah! Then he steals the beer. A guy stole a Dr. Pepper. Do you remember this?
Yeah, I do. He just like he took one of the craft
Like he's like, oh, that's really interesting. What are you guys up to? And then he just casually picked up the drinks, took a sip out of it, and then walked away with it, like backing away. And we're like,
like if you wanted one, you could have just asked and not been weird.
yeah, that was really bizarre. It was my Dr. Pepper, I think. It was either mine or yours. I don't.
No, it was yours.
Yeah, it was not good. Yeah, I just remembered that. That was pretty funny. Just because that was so bizarre. I think we talked about that for like an hour.
Yeah.
But after Alec and I, kind of got acquainted, I started periodically coming over to his place. I would say this is about a year into the friendship and everything, and we were working on stuff together. And I think, if I remember right, I'm trying to think of the first thing we really did where we were like good friends and we were like at your place.
Are you talking about movie stuff or just in general?
I think maybe let's talk about both, just in general and then movies related.
Well, it was movie stuff. The first major project we worked on as friends was the Interview with a Villain.
Oh god, yeah.
Which actually, when I was cleaning up this whole fucking place, I'm almost certain I threw it away at the time because I was annoyed at the day. But I found the picture, the bad Photoshop of Reagan that's used in the movie.
Oh no!
I found it, like the glossy picture we printed out as the prop.
That's amazing. Like,
I know. I was like, Jesus. Well, because it was even more ironic because at the hotel, which we filmed the whole movie, it was a one set, and we filmed it in an empty room in a hotel that Kyle worked at. And then down the line, I ended up working there. And so today I was there cleaning out that room.
Oh, so you were in the hotel and you found it?
No, I found it at home, but this was just like an irony thing. It was like I was cleaning out that room in the hotel with the boss.
Yeah, on the back.
And we were joking about it. We were joking about when I filmed that movie in there.
Mm-hmm.
And then I come back and I'm like sorting through stuff to pack, and I find that picture. I'm like, this is some real X-Files shit.
It's like it was waiting for me it's like the monkey's paw. You throw it away and it comes back.
Be careful what you wish for. Bad movie.
But
I mean, as far as us hanging out here, I would say the first, I mean, you'd just always come over, and then this was when Jake was running with us. So it would just be like we would just kind of like, we used to always go for the longest, for like the first 2 fucking years we hung out together. It was always, we went to that fucking shitty diner and or IHOP, and would just sit there till like 2 a.m, wasting all those fucking poor people's time.
Yeah. that was a lot of meal buying on
A
my.
lot of meal buying, not my meals, someone else's meals.
Yeah. One of those diner hobos.
But essentially, that was why you started coming to my house, was because, like, you were like, I can't keep going to this diner because I'm too polite to tell him no, but I don't want to spend any more money. And I was like, okay, we'll just come over.
It was a good excuse to buffer that. And I also knew that Alec didn't like the fact that I would do that. He was just like, oh, come on, make him pay his own fucking, And so I was like, well, if I go to Alec directly, he won't allow this.
Yeah. And then the first real project that we did at this place was the Pillow Fort and the podcast.
Yeah, that was. And let's talk about that. Give some people some context.
So, a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, me and Kyle decided to try our hand at YouTube. And, spoiler alert, at the end, just wasn't what we were interested in.
Yeah.
But at first, we tried a podcast. And it was, of course, about movies and stuff. But the key legacy thing was we built a cheap do-it-yourself sound booth, which was just PVC pipe and then thick wool blankets.
Yeah, and I've got to say, for as jerry-rigged as this was, it was actually pretty well thought out. It has Alec written all over it, where it's taking a lot of amateur parts and then making something very creative with it. He's like one of those people who takes things out of a landfill and then turns it into sculptures. You know what I mean? That's kind of how it felt. Because I think the whole thing couldn't have cost more than like $18 to buy.
I think, well, in grand total, it cost like $35, something akin to that, because the PVC is like surprisingly expensive.
Yeah, I forgot. Like, did you buy them sectioned, or did you buy all long ones and then you cut them yourselves?
No, we didn't cut them ourselves. We bought them long, and the fun story about that was we go to Home Depot, and where we grab all the stuff, and because we had pre-measured all this. All this was like planned with. And we go to the Home Depot, and we're like, okay, we want to get these pipes and we want to get them cut. And the guy's like, oh, we don't cut those here. Which now who fixes things for a living, knows that was a giant bunch of fucking bullshit.
Yeah.
Because they absolutely cut that. They cut everything in a hardware store. There's very few things in a hardware store
exist. It's like, otherwise you would just buy it online and wait for it to come to your house.
Exactly. The point, they have them there. But so then we went to Lowe's, and then the guy cut them. But that was kind of the thing, was like we literally just like left all that crap like in a cart and then walked out and went to Lowe's, because we were like, fuck this. We'll buy it all at Lowe's. It's the same price. Home Depot was just geographically closer at that exact moment we were in the car.
Yeah, I mean, if you're like, if we're gonna do this, we're gonna do it the cheap way, and it's like, fuck that. They're not gonna cut it. We're not gonna do it.
Exactly.
No pun intended. It wasn't gonna cut it.
Nope. But yeah, no, we built that, and then we tried the podcast, and we did it. It lasted for like a year, and then we tried to do like YouTube videos, which is where the green screen came in.
Oh boy, yeah.
The rise and fall of the green screen, which actually brings us to one of your favorite stories about the time Kyle had an idea.
Oh yeah, Kyle.
You got to clarify. Who came up with the original of this idea? Classic filmmaker.
Yeah, I know. I'm getting to that. I'll say this. Let me describe Kyle just briefly. In the last, I'd say, 5 years, even though Kyle has always sort of said he's been like this, in the last 5 years, Kyle's really become a book reader. Like, he likes to read. He does it in his spare time. He likes to read. I used to catch him reading at work when I would stop by to visit Alec and Kyle, and they both were working at the same place. And I would do that every weekend when I would come in. He would catch him reading something. But he was reading at the time Rebel Without a Crew, which is a famous Robert Rodriguez independent filmmakers. You can do anything you set your mind to. Book.
He was watching the behind the scenes documentary based on the
no, he also watched that. We all did. We watched that 10-minute film school.
Yeah.
With, Robert Rodriguez, where it's so MTV. Back when MTV was MTV, this is like a rock star. It's all got the echo delay like this, with my hand. It's got all that, and it's like, yo, are you a filmmaker? Start making business cards and telling people that, even if you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Hey, do you not have a camera? Find some schmuck with a fucking camera, dude. You know what I mean?
Which the worst part of that is now we know that we're older. It's like, you probably shouldn't do 90% of those things. You should just not be doing, like handing out business cards and telling people you're something.
Yeah, when you don't know what you're talking about, and it. By the way, I found a couple of pictures here. This is to coincide with Interview with a Villain. This is a screen grab from the movie. I don't know if people can see that. It's not.
You should just edit it. You'll have to edit it in or something.
Yeah, maybe so.
But I still have those shackles, by the way.
Yeah, those are some fun makeshift.
Top quality shackles, and you hated them, but now you know you can't live without them.
They weren't like handcuffs handcuffs are round because your wrists are round. Your wrists aren't shaped in half moons. So they shackled me to a table, and my hand is getting pinched on the bottom, and it's round on top, but it's like doing that. And they're like, oh, it looks good. It looks like this as long as you keep your hands down. But then there's a portion in the movie where you go, okay, go ahead and lift your hands up.
And you were like, aren't they supposed to be down?
It's Bane thing, tough words from a man in chains.
Yeah. And you're like, aren't they supposed to be down the whole time? And I was like, who gives a shit?
Yeah, continuity doesn't matter.
None of this matters. No, but yeah, so the 10-minute film school.
Yeah, so
Kyle.
What's great is how the idea is fine in premise and almost in premise only. Because
not only that, because it said it in the video. It said it in the video to do it. That's the best part. Yeah,
so he says if you get a warehouse light, which we were using at the time to light things. We had a yellow warehouse light, the two that you click on the back of them, and they're bright as shit. They light up a whole warehouse. And it would get hot as fuck in there when we were filming in the apartment. And in the video, he says, oh, you need to diffuse some light, do you? Grab a cookie sheet and put a cookie sheet on a clamp in front of the light. Now, here's the thing. He said, put it in front of the light. Now, what Kyle interpreted that as is I'm going to set up the light, and I'm going to take a cookie sheet, and I'm going to tape it on the light.
Well, it was several,
What was it?
It was a couple sheets because they're thin, which only adds to the story.
I guess 3 or 4 or something like that.
So to his credit, we all immediately, when he does this, stand around like a bunch of dumbasses and go, that's a really good idea. I can't believe we didn't think it.
That's true, but then I also said this. He's like, yeah, I'm not sure if it's going to work. And I go, well, we'll know in 5 minutes. Now, cue 4.5 minutes later. Okay. All of a sudden, we all start smelling something burning. And it wasn't a fresh batch of cookies. It was the cookie sheet that was on the light, and it was smoking to high heaven. It was on fire.
You missed the best line. So it's we smell smoke.
Oh, yeah.
And I turn around, and I say, Kyle, your idea's on fire.
Your idea's on fire. Yeah, and then what was great is that I run over with Kyle and we grab it, and my first instinct is take it to the sink. Okay, like throw it in the sink.
And the best part is, Kyle grabs it to pull it off with the tape, and the motion of pulling it off ignites it.
Yeah, that's like the spark. It was like it had been drenched in gasoline. It was just this whipping motion just gave it enough oxygen to just engulf. And so now it's like singeing Kyle's arm hair, and we're running over to the sink, and Kyle has a very odd way of screaming or when something bad is happening. So he kind of just went like this. He kind of goes, ah. He went, ah. And I turned on the sink, and he threw it in there, and it goes psh, like that. And then we all just started dying laughing because it was just so horribly a failure. Like, it was the biggest fail I think we had done to date.
Yep.
And we had failed on a number of things, but we had never caught anything on fire before, and horribly misinterpreted what was said by a good filmmaker. So, oh God, it's a fire.
Yeah.
But
so that was one. What was another terrible thing we did in this place? Oh, which I have to repair it tomorrow, but there's a dent in the wall.
Oh God.
And on the Browncast Ultra YouTube channel, people can watch the original video of the dent. But essentially, when we were doing YouTube, we filmed a bit to make fun of Paranormal Activity.
Yeah, I think it was called Paranormal Castivity, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Browncast.
And so the scene essentially was David was the camera, the night camera, standing on a chair precariously.
I was very still though.
Yep. And so then I was a ghost who silently and subtly comes out of the closet.
Okay, I'm gotta say this. If you haven't ever had an opportunity to see Alec dressed in a white sheet with holes cut out, and
it doesn't cover the whole of me.
Hat on. I think the one he's wearing right now.
No, it was the Superman hat, I remember.
Oh, that's right. Okay, so he has a hat on top of it. Anyway, just go ahead. It was it looked crazy.
And so I come out in this sheet because I'm a ghost and I'm spooky. And in the spirit of Paranormal Activity, I, the spooky ghost, start interacting with things, like in the movie. Exactly like the movie.
Exactly like.
I'd like to emphasize how high production value it was and close to the movie.
Guys, we put a blue filter on it. It was pretty top notch.
It was pretty top notch. So in the scene was the punching bag, and I punched that a couple times.
Yeah, that was supposed to be the joke. Is that punching bag always and all of the things.
Yeah, and then in the middle of the frame, there's a dinner table, like one of those fold out TV dinner tray tables, which my computer is now balanced precariously on as I finished this before. But there was a vase, just sitting there in the middle of the frame next to a punching bag. So I knew what to do, and as a ghost, I picked up the vase and I chucked it as hard as possible against the wall because the scene called for it to break.
Yeah, and we even bought a vase for this that was supposed to be thin so that it would break easily, because we didn't want to order a breakaway bottle would take weeks for it to come in.
Yeah, why not just break a vase from Target? I mean, what are we, idiots?
Yeah, surely this isn't the dumbest thing that's happened.
Yeah. So the vase broke. And along with the vase breaking, it left a nice vase-shaped dent in the wall.
Yeah, it's like this size.
Yep.
Like and you even see a moment of peril, like in Alec's body language when he does it. And if you had heard the actual audio, if he ever has it anywhere, it's me going, run away.
Yeah.
Because he breaks it and sees a dent, and then he goes, "Oh no!"
Yeah. And so then I run back to the, nether world afterlife where ghosts come from. And then Kyle wakes up and he's spooked by the paranormal activity.
Well, here's the thing. In Kyle's version of getting spooked was one for the books, okay? It was it's hard to describe it, honestly. Where Kyle getting spooked had to do, like, he comes out and he goes like this. He goes, "Oh, a ghost!" But for some reason, he didn't run away immediately, so he just stands there for like 10 seconds. Like, he goes, "Oh my God, a ghost!" And then once again, just like I did to Alec, I go, "Run away, Kyle." And then he goes and scoots off.
Well, he was paralyzed with fear from the ghost. I mean, obviously. I don't know what you're expecting. I mean, that's the nature of a paranormal activity. Is a ghost breaks things in your house and you're frightened.
You're
I mean,
you're fighting.
I've seen those movies. I know what they're about. I know where they're going. So, the next thing on the list,
In regards to
of
your,
course, we've always had green screen fun, which has just been, every time we've done something stupid with the green screen, which you can just check out the old Browncast YouTube channel for all that.
Mhm.
So we've also filmed several short films of all types in our place.
Yeah, and really quick, sorry to interrupt you. I sent Kyle a message. I don't know if he has received it, but I think he has. Because I've been meaning to get Kyle on this for a long time, and we're gonna, I think, get him briefly, at least for a little bit. Let's see.
We will see.
Just because if he is, able to come in, I want him to have a chance to speak his mind on some of the things he filmed in there.
Yeah.
It's it'll be fun to have him in there.
Have them around. Have them hanging out.
Have him
Doing stuff.
with the cool kids.
With the cool kids.
Is he texting you? Is he like trying to?
No. I sent him a message. Tell him it's in his email. So we shall see if he is able to get on.
Sweet. Well, I guess let's go ahead and start talking more about some of the shorts that we had done. And then when he comes in, we'll pause and we'll do our intros with him, and we'll have him join in.
Yep. Well, so of course, all sorts of weird shit. The stuff we mentioned.
Well, because we were talking about the paranormal castivity and that delightfulness and breaking the vase and leaving a mark.
Oh, now the one that we filmed, of course, several times in the apartment at several periods of the apartment was the Savor Project.
That's true.
Because that one existed in so many because we filmed it over a large span of time, and we kept going back to the apartment, but it was always different.
Yeah, it's weird. Like, I have clips from the Saber Project. I mean, it's like thousands of clips. It's seriously over 1,000 clips.
Yeah.
And we filmed it, I think, over the course of like a year and a half, but the entire apartment shifted furniture, shifted posters, changed, like, Alec and Kyle had different clothes, like wardrobes entirely. The only thing I shouldn't say that, actually. The only thing that didn't change in my main criticism of Alec for the Saber Project wasn't his performance, but the fact that he wears a gray shirt through 90% of the movie. He looks like he's timeless.
Donald Huggins is timeless.
And that was the character he played. Alec played Donald Huggins. Still one of the funniest characters I think I've ever like filmed in my life. I still think it's great. We quote him still. And
Yeah,
it's
to this day,
uh,
Donald Huggins still gets quoted in circles.
and for those who don't know, the Saber Project was a mockumentary that we had made that had the attempt at being a feature film. Like I really wanted it to be a feature that
Yeah.
we did because this was with Alec, myself, and Jake, who Alec was saying was running along with us at this time. And most of it was improv. The only time we really ever had anything written out was sometimes I would write down bullet points for Alec to stay like kind of within these borders, but anything in between that he could just make up whatever he wanted. And it was weird because when we first started it, we started filming the improvisations. It's still online somewhere, the Saber Project improvs, where we were just doing these characters.
Yeah, and just trying to make each other laugh.
Yeah, and no, we did. I mean, I'll still say that was still one of the most fun experiences was getting to say just some of the most ludicrous shit, and just make each other laugh. Like the bloopers of that, I have that on my YouTube channel, and I still watch it periodically because it just kills me. Like
Yeah.
Alec's character in particular, Alec was just making me laugh like a fuck ton. I was honestly more of the straight man. I wish I had said funnier things, but Jake and Alec were really just killing me with the shit that they were coming up with. I was like wheezing with laughter.
Especially, well, for me, it's always the best time to get me going is the more tired I am, the less sense I make when I'm just like rattling off stuff.
Yeah,
And
a
it
lot
just
of the
gets
good stuff was later in the.
well, because especially because at that time, a lot of times what it would be is you would be in okay at the school with Jake, and so then I would I would get off work and then drive across town to meet you guys there.
Yeah, and so at that point, since Alec was getting off work, he was working at Walmart, I think, at this point. Still, this is at the latter end of his stay at Walmart. Because for the first like 3 years of Alec and I's friendship, he was just miserable working at Walmart. Like such a brutal job, and still some of the funniest things I've ever witnessed Alec do happened while he was working at Walmart. Like I remember one time, I'll come back to what we were talking about here, but there was one time I came up and said hello to him at work, and he had a shopping cart and he was pushing stuff around, and he just goes, nah, you're like, come over here, like into this aisle. And I'm like, why? And he goes, I've just been pushing the shopping cart around for like 6 hours. Like I haven't been doing anything. You're like, I've been tired all day and I didn't want to do anything. So I had this shopping cart full of returns and I've just been periodically dropping stuff off.
Yeah, well, and then you pick up stuff as you go, you know?
So he drops one thing off and then picks one thing up and then was just doing that. And I don't know, something about Alec doing it in particular was just funny to me. But he didn't do it every time, but it was just like once or twice I would see some funny shit from Walmart. That or seeing Alec interact with a crazy person, a typical Walmart crazy, was awesome. But coming back to like the Saber Project and us filming at the Brown Fort, like there's some amazing stuff where like your look changes drastically in the movie. Like you're one of the few people who actually like changes in the movie.
Yeah.
They don't really look any different. Just because I don't know. I put gray in my hair, but nobody noticed it.
Yeah. Well, that was because when I put stuff in my hair was I rather than use hairspray or makeup stuff like you, I just used acrylic paint.
Yeah, that's right. You used really thick, hard to get out paint. And there were some times where we would find ourselves like in the hallway. So I had light from the bathroom, and I would be putting it in Alec's beard, and that would be like 10 minutes would just be me putting it through his beard, and he just looked, way older when we put white in his hair. At the time, Alec was rocking his hair long in the back. And
Yep.
so
And now I bitch about not having hair anymore.
well,
It's like yeah, I was
like you
putting
were holding
paint.
on to a full mane or anything. It was
Yeah, but it's like it's bullshit. My hair's gone. Now let me tell you about the time I was putting acrylic paint in it.
Oh well, hey, how do you think my life's gonna be when I eventually go bald? It's just gonna be the saddest song that clown ever sang.
Yeah, but you'll just have wigs. You can
I probably will have wigs.
just get merkins.
I'll have
Not merkins. What the fuck are they called?
pieces that you pay $3,000 for, and they glue to your head that you can like wash. It's like
like the Donald Trump ones.
Yeah, sure.
That's what he has. It's
yeah, I know. Oh, I know. But
you know, because you've been looking through the catalog.
Yeah, then nothing is wrong with a little preemptive shopping. And if you buy it 20 years in advance, it's like half off. So, we did the Saver project, and then after that, I'm trying to think as to what else we did. Let me ask you something. When was it when we started to regularly, like every week, cook meals? You know what I mean? Like when we would like eat food.
That was about like a year and a half before you left. Or no, that was a year and a half. It was the year it was the time you came. It was when you came back the first time.
Really? Okay.
That's about the timeline.
All right. And so then to not skip ahead, I guess after the Saver project, what was the next thing that we did in the fort? I'm trying to remember. Let me see here. We talked about Interview with the Villain. Talked about Saver project. Well, let's talk more about your YouTube channel, because during this time, this was like right in the swing of Alec and Kyle doing their YouTube channel, Browncast Ultra. And their YouTube channel focused around obviously doing, like we talked about, these little skits and little shorts and stuff, but they were doing movie reviews. And I think in like a year's time or something like that, maybe even 6 months, they had done like what, Alec, like 130 or something, like in a year.
Yeah,
it was a lot, and it was all in front of the green screen. And are you hearing from Kyle or something?
I'm checking. I'm trying to see if I can get him hooked up.
Maybe I have to do that thing again where I have to remove him and then add him again.
Yeah, try and remove him and add him.
Okay. Sorry, folks. Technical difficulties. All right, add people. Okay. See if it's there now. I just removed and re-added them.
Yeah. We'll see. We shall see.
Cool. Now, well, do you know if he's coming from a computer or like a phone?
I think he's coming from his phone.
That might be why. I'm not sure how that'll work.
Well, I mean, it can't be that different. It's probably just it's probably just on the side. There's a tab. You know.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I've tried doing it from an iPad before. From an iPad, it worked, but I don't know about the phone. Does he? Do you know if he has like the Gmail or the Google Hangout app? Because there's a Hangout app that I think hooks up to your. Oh, wait a second. I'm seeing something.
Are you?
Oh no, is that you? I think you're typing.
I'm not typing.
Oh well, it just reacted like something happened, but I guess nothing did.
Yeah.
I don't know. Technical difficulties.
Well, you keep talking and I'll look up.
Okay, well, so yeah, Alec and Kyle started doing their YouTube channel, and I think also around this time, Kyle, right after the Saber project was kind of wrapping, Kyle got the filmmaking bug and decided that he was going to go to film school, the same film school that Alec went to, and had just graduated. I think like 6 months prior, 6 8 months prior, and and so that's why they were going so hard at these reviews, is because it was just as beneficial to learn how to make these reviews and how to do these videos themselves, as opposed to waiting years for them to teach them in cinematography 1 and 2 and screenwriting and all that.
Yeah.
So it helped, and it got them more comfortable with the camera. And I think in that regard, it definitely did help. But I would say even, Alec, having at this point, he's removed a good number of them, the ones that he didn't think were spectacular. But there were a lot. There were like I said, like 120 or 30. There was a lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I was coming over, and I was mostly helping with like the camera. Like I would just, because they did a lot of them on their own, but after like the first 20 or something that they did by themselves, I was like, well, I mean, I want to come over and I want to help, because I already did come over anyways, and it gave me more of an excuse to come over and hang out on days when I didn't usually get to hang out. And so in order to get to hang out with them more, because at this point Alec and I were best friends, and Kyle and I were becoming better friends, and so I don't know, it was kind of like my home away from home, and like I would spend the night there, and we'd get drunk there, and I would help them on these things. And that was sometimes that was like the whole plan. Like the plan was to shoot 1 or 2 of these movie reviews, afterwards eat, go get a drink, and then just kind of chill.
Yeah, that was usually the way.
And it was really fun.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm trying to think. What was the next thing? Saber Project. Then we had the Browncast things, but there was some kind of short film or something in there that we were working on.
Well, we worked on Kyle's film school stuff, and that was one part.
Oh yeah, I remember we had the one where we still joke about this, where Kyle had this short that he had to do for, I think, a Sin 1 class, and I was like a doctor in it, and then I was a guy at a cafe, even though it was like filmed in the fort. We didn't bother going to locations. It was just like there was no production design to our stuff. It was one location only. Wacky arm waving inflatable tube man. It was very, come
yeah,
here.
but it's Sin 1, so you're allowed to get away with it.
And it's like you have a few days to work on it. Here you go. And Kyle's obsession for some reason was, ironically, we need to have this red vase with flowers in it. So he had bought like fake white flowers, pink flowers, red flowers, and in every shot he was putting these flowers, and it was this was so stupid. It was a total Kyle kick. Kyle gets on kicks every now and then. He had a kick with like a diet where he got into kale for like, I'm sure Alec remembers. It was a big thing. It was like he was always eating kale. Like we would like ask him to come out to eat. He's like, nah, man, I got to stay here and eat my kale.
I'm trying to remember what in that shot. So of course he had the frozen notebook for like the doctor stuff, but then there was something else. What was the pic? Who was in the picture? The framed picture in the background. I'm trying to remember this. Like in that shot where you guys are sitting at like the quote unquote diner, like on the wall, there's a framed picture of someone, and I, for the life of me, cannot remember who the fuck it was.
I have this on your computer. I'm surprised you don't have this stuff, or have it on like a terabyte somewhere.
Well, it's probably on Kyle's terabyte, but I don't know where that is.
It's the other room. I don't know.
No, it's all packed. Everything's packed up.
Well,
because some of us were responsible when we were about to move.
So we did that, and then there was a point towards that I had been encouraging Alec and Kyle. It's like, well, if you're already going to take the time to set up this fort, and we would periodically, I forgot to mention, like Alex said before, we would do podcasts in that little felt PCP.
Yeah. In that giant heat box.
Did I say PCP? PVC pipe.
Yeah.
A little PCP pipe. Well, PCP.
In the giant hot box, because that thing also got warm when you had a lot of people in it.
Oh yeah, and we had these stools, these classy, butt-numbing stools that we would sit on. And I've got to say, honestly, as an adult, it's the most kid-like I've felt in a good way. Like, it was very cozy. It felt like something that you would do with your friends when you were like 10. You know what I mean? We're talking about.
I don't need you to diss the pillow fort, sir.
What?
I think you're throwing a lot of shade at the pillow fort unnecessarily.
Not pillow fort.
You're throwing a lot of shade at my pillow fort.
What are you talking about?
We recorded some audio magic in there, and you are talking mad shit.
Well, you need to find some of that audio magic. I wanted to listen to the Christmas one where we talked about Christmas movies, and I couldn't listen to it.
Hey, you know what? I mean, that's something to look forward to in December. We'll just record a new one.
Yeah.
With more alcohol.
And a bigger fort.
A bigger fort. You ain't seen nothing yet.
Like, you think that we improved? No, we just made it bigger. Better than it was before.
That's what the new place is. It's just a giant PVC structure.
It's built on a plot of land.
No. What if it was? I'm throwing out wild scenarios. What if you showed up and it was like we had constructed using old McDonald's play place structures, constructed like a multi-layer studio setup. So like one is like the sound booth, and then there's the green screen up above, but it's still all those neon colors.
Do you want to go into our green screen studio? Well, you got to climb the fire pole.
You got to climb up. Take your shoes off, Jesus.
Plus, I mean, how are you going to have traction with socks on?
Yeah, you can take the slide down. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, get out of our house.
Get out of our house. Take the slide down.
Like an Abbott Costello.
You're like screaming at someone. Don't you climb up that fucking slide? You go down slide.
Here. You get back down here.
You climb down slides. Go sit in the ball pit and think about what you done. Hey!
I didn't make it?
You made it.
Oh, there we go.
Everybody, welcome Kyle to the Walking David Catching Up Week. Moving from fort to fort episode. Drama, sit down. You're too excited. Go, sit down.
So, Kyle, to fill you in, we're going over some of the history of the fort. We covered the podcasting era. We covered the Robert Rodriguez era.
Yeah.
We covered the cookie sheet incident, and we're kind of going through the progress, the filmmaking progress of like the Browncast YouTube channel and the fort for the podcast.
Oh yeah.
And we were talking about the bigger place will have a bigger fort.
That would be a good idea, because the OG fort is a little bit snug, I'd say.
I will say this: it was a feat of engineering, because, like, this fort, the hallway is like 3 feet exactly. You know what I mean? Like, if you did this, you touch your both elbows. You know what I mean? And the fort was this short of it on each side.
You're right. I remember having to like climb around it and stuff, like to go to the bathroom.
Well, yeah, and we had to start like leaving a slit of it open so that we could do that. And at the first couple of times, we had it around backwards so that there was a bar that you had to then duck underneath to go to the bathroom or remove it. Like at least I did.
Oh, God.
But
I also I also remember about the blanket fort is that because when you have to record audio and you have to turn off the air conditioning, and I didn't really think that through that sitting in a blanket fort is just gonna like insulate all the heat into that one spot. So it was just by you do like an hour long podcast by 60 minutes, you're just
yeah, drenched.
scorched. Yeah.
I mean, I was talking about the stools and like they were these ass numbing stools because you would sit there for like an hour, but none of us are thin people, like really stick figures. Like it would just numb our legs. Like every one of us, we'd have to get up and we'd be like, "Oh God!" Like
Yeah.
we don't fit anymore.
Oh man.
But I still think the blanket fort was great. Like I was telling Alec, it felt very much like, and in a good way, it felt like when you're a kid and your friends and you build a fort and you're kind of having this like play time. That's what it kind of felt like. It kind of felt very
Exactly.
Um, and to me, it was kind of a unique thing. Like if it in today's world, if with all the video casts and everything, if we could have had cameras set up to show what we were experiencing, I think it would make people feel like they were part of something kind of special because we were all like huddled together,
Yeah.
doing it, and it was great. We did all kinds of like episodes. We talked about movies. We had a Christmas episode where we talked about our Christmas movies we wanted to or that we liked. It was
I watched. We were pretty much seeing every single movie on a weekly basis around that time. So
yeah, I was
uh,
because this is around the time that when we started or you guys started doing the reviews. That was right around the time that you, Kyle, had just gone into film school, and
yeah.
you were hitting it fucking hard. And people at film school were like, "Hey, you want to be a part of my shitty movie?" And you're like, "Dude, I've made like 100 reviews. Like, you should be dying to be in one of my reviews."
Speaking of which, so Kyle, maybe you can remember. So you remember your Sin 1 project where like David was a doctor and shit?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
Our movie.
You mean like editing? Where like it's like I'm making an editing project or something like that.
Yeah, it was an editing project, not Sin. You're right.
Okay, so behind in one of the shots where you and David are sitting at a table, there was a someone famous was framed in like a wreath or like a picture frame, and I for the life of me can't remember who the fuck it was. Do you remember?
Oh, there was in one shot. There's a picture frame in which Nicolas Cage is framed, and it's like it's actually a painting of Nicolas Cage that I found on like Google Images. And then a couple of scenes later in the wreath, it's George R.R. Martin. Yeah.
Oh, it wouldn't
Like I found like the cheesiest like it's like a picture of him that looks like a school photo, like where it's just like that perfect angle looking off to the left, like head slightly tilted, like
yeah, like this.
way, like
Yeah,
Cersei.
Cersei.
You see, my dragons are not.
I always felt that Tolkien was very pedestrian. Tolkien rhymes with pedestrian. But then we're also trying to go through the history of some of the shorts that we did. So we talked about Ray and Bill, your and I's first filmmaking encounter.
Yeah.
And then we talked about
that was probably the first film I ever worked on. Period.
I think so. Yeah, I think.
Yeah. Right. Unless you count. I did like when I was a kid in like high school. Jackass was a really big, like a huge, really, really popular, and so me and my friends did like Jackass videos. But that was really like the first like film I ever worked on, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was definitely interesting. It was quite the experience. We were talking about the filmmaking woes and the stunt that I did where I ran into the door and
yeah,
all that.
I think there's like a can like throwing, or you got hit by a trash, or I hit you with a trash can, or like some kind of. There was a trash can involved. We had the trash can. We did it like 20 times.
Yeah. Oh, dude, I think you were there for this as well.
I think it was like a Three Stooges style. Like, I think you're the ghost, so I hit you with a trash can or something.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
yeah,
some shit like that.
yeah. We had plastic like bin trash can that like bounces like and stuff, and we did like this like kind of like weird stunt thing, but we did it like a ton of times, and I was just like, this is the process. I was pretty enamored by the whole thing.
Say, let it not be said, but y'all got your start on my picture.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't get my fucking start on your picture.
Got your big break on my pictures.
It's got it freaking Quentin Tarantino over here.
Yeah, I grew up on Alex Brown films. But I also talked about this. I don't know if Kyle remembers this or not, but on that same set, Ray and Bill, we were walking out, and I had set a Dr. Pepper of mine down, and this strange guy comes over, and he's like, hey, like, what are y'all doing? And he's just sort of like, same with you, sort of enamored by the whole thing, and he's kind of like getting closer to us and seems like he's just chatting us up. And then he just kind of reaches down subtly and picks up my Dr. Pepper and starts drinking it, and then walks away. He's like, you have a good day. And then like just stole my Dr. Pepper.
I do remember that, actually. Yeah.
It was the weirdest thing. Like a lot of us, we were laughing about it, but we were flabbergasted. Like, did he just do that?
Yeah. It was. I remember that guy being really, really weird. Like,
yeah, it was,
and not really knowing that was going to be like one of like a long series of like random people walking up while filming something, and being weird about it. So that seems like every time, like, it's so funny. If you're anywhere public, like where you can be seen, somebody's gonna walk up to be like, "Are you filming something?" It's like, oh, what makes you think that?
I think that's the best segue into the Tale of the Fat Wheelchair Woman, Part 1 and 2.
Oh, dude, yeah, that was the one.
Okay, so I'll tell. So Part 1 is Kyle's story.
Okay.
And essentially, we're filming on one of your projects, David, and so she rolls up to Kyle, who's standing outside, and she's got one of her feet suspended.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so then she's like, I'm an actress, Oh, and then throughout this conversation of convincing Kyle she's an actress and trying to get a wheelchair role worked out, she, in mid-conversation, will pass out asleep.
She was clearly very intoxicated, but yeah, so she would like nod off for, I mean, just like about 10, 15 seconds, like just long enough to be like, did you just fall asleep mid-sentence? And then and then just like keep talking about like movies and stuff. I'm trying really hard to be nice about it, but
so then we go to Part 2, which is with David and I.
Okay.
And it was a dark and stormy night, not really. But so our apartment complex had torn up the road in the parking lot because they were redoing it.
Right in front of where you lived. It was literally
Yeah.
only in front of where you and like 2 other people lived. And so it was only inconvenient for like us and 4
Yeah.
other cars.
So we park, and David notices that, or well, more so, we park and we're unloading groceries. So we're getting ready to take groceries in. And then we turn and look, and we see this woman from part 1, slightly more sober this time, with, I guess, maybe her handler or her caretaker or maybe
It
her
was just
kid.
a random black chick who was like
Whoever this person is. And so this
Mhm.
fat lady, who is easily 500 pounds, decides, I'm getting across that dirt in my rascal. So spoilers, she did not get across that dirt in her rascal, and so she got stuck. So I was content to just ignore this entire thing and go inside. But David was a kind soul that evening, and he said to himself, you know what? I'm going to make a difference today.
For you, madam, I have the strength of Hercules.
So David goes over there, and he tries to start pushing. And of course she's going nowhere because she's like super fat and it's in dirt.
She's going, yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
and of course this person that was with her that let her drive in the dirt is just standing there, not being helpful. And so then eventually I walk over there mostly just to see this play out. And then another person walks over who was like some rando Hispanic guy. So then David and this man proceed to build a little hill to get this cart over.
I was listen, in medieval times, I would have been very humble because this wagon that clearly lost a spoke would have gotten up this fucking hill if it killed me. So there's like asphalt and it goes down like this much. And so I took broken pieces of asphalt, leaned them, and then I put sand on top of it to smooth it, so to give her a little ramp up.
Yeah.
I was being very, industrious.
Now, the moral of this story is actually that I was right, because the next day, while David is standing there next to me, one of our neighbors comes up and says to me, I saw you over there the other evening. Help that lady out of the dirt. That was really nice of you. And I go, you're welcome.
Who is standing not a foot and a half away?
But David. And I felt really good in that moment of getting the thanks.
Didn't let me live it down either for like a solid 2-3 weeks. He would just be like, David, I clearly helped that woman.
And you didn't do shit.
Up that ramp. And without me, she would still be spinning her tires there to this day. And I was like, fuck you, Alec. What'd you say?
I don't know. Did I ever tell you guys? I think when I first met her, I gave her my phone number. I was kind of like, oh, like if I have a wheelchair, you listen to me, and if I have a wheelchair, I'll tell you. But like a few weeks after we finished American Myth, like actually after it was finished edited, she like called me in the middle of the night and like left a message on my phone, like kind of like drunkenly asking if we were making a movie, if we had any wheelchair parts available. I don't know. I kind of just like, it was just like, what? Okay. And then
the sequel to American Myth, for those of you who don't know, is an American wheelchair.
American Wheels.
American Wheels. That's what we always called her, Old American Wheels.
We'll take the Scarecrow God idol and put it in a wheelchair too.
No, we'll just wrap her in wicker and we'll be like, you're the monster. Well, like, So there was that. What was the other thing? Hold on a second. I have it here. I did some little. Yeah. So there's the wheel. That was the wheelchair lady. But then there was another one where David, for some reason, I'm only generous when I definitely shouldn't be, and I don't seem to realize it until somebody else in my immediate vicinity tells me, "Whoa, what are you doing?" Like, so Alec and I had just gotten back, I think, from the gas station, because that was one thing that Alec didn't mention in the wheelchair thing, is that we were walking back from 7-Eleven, which was like like 2.5 blocks or 3 blocks away. I don't know how much yardage it was, but it was like, I don't know. It was a good walk, like a quarter of a mile walk. And so you walk there and back, and we would go get sodas and shit. But
in this one, we're about to go to 7-Eleven.
Yeah, oh, that's right. We're about to go to 7-Eleven. We're in the car, and this guy comes up. Now, based on his walk, I probably should have said no, but he comes up, and he just sort of does this. He just kind of goes, like, and comes up to the side of the door on Alec's side. And of course, because it's Alec's side, I roll the window down. And this guy's just like, "Can you give me a ride?"
and so Kyle, you and I know a tweaker from 1,000 miles away. But David didn't know this. David was naive in the ways of random
for whatever reason. I just go, can't be that bad. Shouldn't be that much out of our way to take him there. We're already going there. Alec, come on. We're already going
there. So David agrees, and the man gets in the back seat. And so he proceeds to tell his story. He tells us the tale
because 30-second drive.
The reason he walks so peculiar is because his brother, the scoundrel, stabbed him 24 times.
Oh, I thought you said 38.
Or either way, between 24 and 42 times the man was stabbed. Not even Tupac can boast of such a legacy.
But then he said something along the lines of, when we were getting there, it's like, that sucks that happened, that your brother did that. And he says, I'm like, I don't have a brother. Like, he said something like, just made that up.
Well, because the best part was, I'm pretty sure, wasn't it his brother stabbed him all these times for like cigarettes or something?
Yeah, it wasn't in jail either. It was like,
yeah,
I was walking down the street. My brother said, "Give me a pack," and I said no, and then he stabbed me 38 times.
And that's why I walk so funny.
Yeah.
By the way, can I have a ride to 7-Eleven? Sure.
Oh yeah, that's when I let him in. By the way, and then
he tells the story while we're in the car, story. And of course, so then it's like, now we get to 7-Eleven, and it's a race against time, because now the objective is get in, buy our shit, and get in the car before this guy comes back, so that we can drive the fuck off.
And I see, that's what I mean.
And this is the best. I remember the ending to this is he right as you're backing up, he comes up and he says, "Hey man, can you give me a ride back?" And you go, "Sorry, we're not going home."
That's a good line though. That's pretty clever. We're not going
home.
That's good. Yeah.
Sorry, I ain't going that way. You're gonna go see your brother to get you stabbed 30 times in the other leg to even you out.
He just asked his brother for a ride. And he's just like,
no, because his brother stabbed him. I mean, geez.
Last time I asked my brother for a ride, he stabbed me 38 times. Wait, I thought that was for the cigarettes. I don't have a brother.
Kyle, I mean, think of it this way. If I stabbed you 38 times, would you still ask me to drive you to Walmart? Yeah.
Maybe.
Maybe. Because you got shit to buy, and I mean, you survived the stabbing. He's practically Superman. That's why he's asking random strangers for rides. He's Superman at this point. He's invincible. He survived 38 knife stabs.
But this was like, he looked like a Walking Dead extra, like shambling out of the bushes. And I should have just been like, I don't know why. Like, Alec looked at me with this, like, classic kind of Alec thing where he does this. He's just like,
like, really?
And I'm just like, what, Alec? Like, what seems to be the bother? Like,
he was stabbed 38 times, Alec. Why don't you show some Christian decency?
Yeah, why don't you be a good Christian, Alec? Why don't you let him get in my car? I'm trying to think what else.
I got one. If you want one more story on Kyle,
I think I got. You guys haven't. If you guys haven't mentioned this, but I remember one time we were doing a podcast, and it was like we were doing it in the middle of the night. It was like 1:30 in the morning, and right in the middle of the podcast, there's a knock on the door, and I woke over to answer the door, and it's the police, like just kind of randomly. Knocking with that, like they're saying, like, "Oh, do you?" What was like? It was some Hispanic name. They're like, "Do you know a Jose or something?" It's just like
Alejandro Hernandez.
Yeah. I don't know. It's like this sub Spanish criminal, and I open the door. It's like, do you have to even ask if I know the notorious?
And the best part is from the door's view, you can still from the door's view you can still see David.
I said, I'm pretty sure I would look like a nerd hanging out with other nerds in a blanket fort.
Yeah, that's the crazy thing is Alec and I. Sorry, I have to describe this image. From the door view, we are looking out into the open part of the living room with half of our heads cut off from the blanket. So we look like the Goonies, just sitting there. And
look like the
this
Goonies.
cop goes, do you know, like, Alejandro Hernandez or whatever like that? We think he's been selling drugs next door to you, and we need to know where he is. Because we had suspected for a long time that their next door neighbors were up to something no good. But this is the first time the cops came to us, and they were like, we know he's doing something no good, and we think he skipped town. And Kyle had the best reaction to it. Do you remember what you said to the cop in regards? He's like, have you spoken to him?
It was like, I don't really know my neighbors. Or something like that. Like, and it was the God's honest truth. I didn't know anything about them. And I mean, as far as I could see, it was very inconsistent as to who was and was not living in that apartment. Like, because there's like a different person every week. Like, there was something really weird going on there.
Yeah, I think, to me personally, I feel like it might have been like a local trap house. You know what I mean? Like a local just drug den that people would go like.
I thought it was maybe like a go-between or something. Like she lived there, and she's probably someone's girlfriend or something. But kind of like a front per se.
Yeah, my thought was always like the front was like paying her rent, so it's like her house gets to be the drop off.
And she's just kind of chilling out there, with I think she had a kid or something.
Yeah,
but
it's another great cop moment I remember was one time we were all hanging out in the living room, and it was Kyle opens the door to stand outside the door and have a smoke. And he opens the door, and a cop has a flashlight looking at the crevices of the door, and the cop looks up at Kyle and says, "Close the door."
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I was trying to remember if that was the same instance, but you're right. I think it was a different one. I was just...
Yeah.
That's amazing. I didn't know about that one.
I don't think they ever explained that either. I think they just went away after a few minutes.
Close the
door.
Door.
It's just like close the door. It's like, shit.
He who must not be named, close the door. That's like something out of a nightmare.
Yeah.
Put another rock in that bag. Close the door. Um, but
I'll say this: the last story I can remember of fun times with the neighbors is on the set to your film, and so we're filming. We've turned our apartment into a big set, and it's taking way too long because certain people are woefully incompetent. And so half of the crew is standing outside. So while we're in the middle of filming, it's 7 p.m. The people down the street decide to have Royal Rumble 7 out in the parking lot. And so there's these ghetto people are just screaming at each other outside and like banging
dudes
on
are ripping off shirts. Like,
it was hip hop out there.
Yeah, the thing, the worst thing about it is that almost like since like the day before, like we filmed that scene. I just knew that was going to happen. I was just like it was like they were gonna have like 20 people over here filming and stuff. There's no way there's not some kind of crazy ghetto fight in the parking lot on the same day. Like it always works out that way.
Yeah, it does. It always worked out that way for us. We would always have some crazy shit going down. Like Kyle was saying, when the cop knocked on the door and Kyle was like, I don't know my neighbors. We're looking for the drug dealer. I don't know my neighbors. We were in the middle of doing a podcast about something that was completely the opposite. It was like favorite Marvel movie or something of the year.
Yeah,
and it was you hear me say in the audio, Alex, like, oh, there's somebody at the door. I'm like, leave it rolling. And you can hear this conversation between Kyle and this cop. It's somewhere. I don't know where it is, but it's somewhere. And
somewhere, yeah.
It's in there. I wish we had it time coded, but it's great. However, it's always something when we were filming something. It's like we would be like, okay, we're gonna start a review. All right, I've got the lights set up, David. Kyle, you get ready to do your thing. We've got the little teleprompter set up. Okay, we're ready to go.
Yep.
And we're rolling. And then you just hear, ah!
Yeah.
It's like you walk outside, there's just some dude just passed out next to a coffee cup, and you're like, what the fuck? What happens here? And it's like the worst part about that set, I'm not going to say the name, but the worst part about that set is the fact that in the scene, we had people dressed as cops. And so people thought that cops were called, and it escalated the fight because they were like, man, you called the fucking cops. And then just.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I remember one of the kids ran. Like one of the shirtless kids, just like he ran away, and he ran and hid down the end of
one of the actors is a friend of David's, and he legit. I mean, he's a really big dude. He legitimately looks like a cop.
Well, I think
we lost him, Jim.
At least briefly. Hey, Alec. Well, in a minute, whenever this sprinkler system stops, I'm gonna have to draw them outside really quick. But when I do that, we'll make sure that you're telling a story, so that there's not a lot of dead air.
Story. You know what? I'm genuinely surprised. So I called Cox today to move my service to the new apartment.
Yeah.
And part of me was thinking all day after I did that, like, what if? Because the whole thing was they were like, oh, you can totally plan it ahead. You can totally plan it, schedule it for a specific day and time. But I was thinking to myself the whole time, I was like, what if they turn off my internet, like right at the start of the stream or midstream?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I was thinking of the whole time. I was like, oh my God, that would suck so bad if it was like we got on and then like 10 minutes.
We're ready to go.
Bam. It's just like bam, done, gone, and just no internet. You know?
Yeah, that would suck. I'm glad that didn't happen, or at least hasn't happened yet. But I think Kyle's actually still in the call. He still shows up that he's there. I think he's just mute.
Yeah, he might have had to jump off for a second.
Yeah, that's okay. I mean, we knew that was a possibility. Now he's gone. now he just disappeared.
Yeah.
But anyways, if he comes back, great. If not, that was Kyle, everybody. But
if not, he's dead.
He's dead.
He's been killed
by his own men.
By his own men.
Stabbed in the back by cowards. But
Kyle is Jon Snow confirmed.
#traitor. But for the watch.
For the watch.
By you, Lord Snow. But yeah, so we've had all kinds of weird incidents happen at this place. I mean, I'm sure some more will come up as we stream on for the next little bit. But as we get into more kind of, I guess, more modern times, you know, I'm trying to think, what else have we done recently there?
Recently? Well, we did the movie night.
We did the movie night, but we also did an American Myth. And we should talk about that for a little bit.
Well, I mean, American Myth, they just gotta watch the movie.
You can't see it anywhere. It's not online. The teaser's online.
Yeah.
But it's not online. But American Myth was, I believe, a story that Kyle had written, but Kyle and Alec had come up with.
Yeah.
And they were both kind of co-directing it. Isn't that what it was? Weren't you guys co-directors? Or are you more producer?
Yeah. No, we were just co-directors. We just kind of both did it.
Yeah, because that's what it felt like. Because I was the main guy in it. And I had a similar look to what I have right now, where I had kind of a beard and I had long hair. And the point was, it was supposed to show that a guy who was trained to be, I think, a detective, he's trying to solve the murder of someone who murdered his father. Correct?
Yeah.
And his father had initially basically got himself killed because he was trying to help me by pretending to be a criminal, and basically was incidentally getting involved in criminal activity, and then ended up getting himself killed under mysterious circumstances. And so it shows my character basically for years, because I go from clean shaven to a beard and my hair gets longer. It's supposed to show that I've been spending years trying to solve this crime. And there's a myth surrounding the death of my dad, and there's a myth surrounding the town that we live in, and still have to solve it. And we filmed like a good portion of it, once again, in the Brown Fort. That was where my character hung his hat. But you guys did some good decorating, though. Like, you had like this map on the wall, like the typical kind of with the strings going to things. And
well, we did that, so it was the main character's house, but then it was also the killer's house, and he had his weird little setup. So, and that was
used it for the same place.
Yeah, it's just different angles, you know.
Yeah, and we had with the killer. What I liked about that part of the set is you had this idol, this kind of scarecrow-looking idol. Didn't we call him Scarecrow Man?
We called him Acorn Head.
Acorn Head, that's right, Acorn Head. So we had Acorn Head there, and we had used these curtains, or Kyle and Alec had spray painted and used these curtains and tacked them up all over the walls, so it looked kind of like, not like a fridge, but just like, what do you call them? like painter's smocks. You know what I mean? Where that's like, it's just.
Well, they were just plastic sheets, like
okay.
you would use to cover up stuff when you're painting in your house.
That's what I'm thinking of. Okay, so yeah, they use these painting covers and like cover the whole apartment with it, and it actually looked pretty good. It's kind of a shrine. This whole house has become a shrine. And then the shots where we showed me, it's like it was completely different. It was different angles, like Alex said, and decorated differently, and looked just very typical, very normal. And we had taken all the furniture, I think, out of the house, the bad guys thing, to make it look similar but not the same.
Yeah, no, we took everything down. That was the
and
that.
I'll give this to Alec and Kyle. They're always good at coming up with like a interesting like prop or some kind of, not MacGuffin. I don't want to say MacGuffin, but some kind of interesting trinket or totem that is used. And I don't know. It's always good. It made it interesting. Like the acorn thing took a lot of time. It had like feathers in it. We went shopping for the steel bars, and where you made like a cross out of it, and had like a wreath and everything.
Yeah.
Lights put in it. And it was a silent film. That was another thing that was interesting, is that it had been a while since I had done a film that was a silent film, and that was fun. And we filmed it all kind of in the area. Like everything we think was filmed within like a 3-mile radius of the house. And I don't remember anything else being filmed further than that. But the whole thing was filmed when it was so fucking cold.
Yep.
Like every single time we tried to shoot, it would be like 10 degrees. And
I enjoyed making you suffer.
I felt bad for Nick, one of the other actors, because I think he was so cold that he started just getting frostbite all over. So he just didn't feel it after a while.
No, with him it was just like he was shivering like the whole time. Though to be fair, it's just because like he chose the wrong coat and then messed it up.
Well, yeah, that was a funny thing, is that, and even he'll attest to this, is he did a Michael Scott. He brought a woman's coat that looked like a woman's coat, like it was fitted for a woman. So it was really tight, and it just didn't look like it was a man's coat at all. And we were wanting kind of like a typical hooded, black kind of zip-up coat, like a leather zip-up coat, similar to like what Kyle uses all the time. And he just didn't have it. And so he just stood out there with a t-shirt and a shirt on, and it was 8 degrees.
Yeah.
I had a fleece, a layer underneath my fleece. I brought hot hands for us all, so that we could keep our, you could still operate the camera. Because, I mean, this was so cold that the camera was starting to have problems because it was so cold. Like, the camera was getting too cold. It's like, it felt like we were close to getting frost on our beards. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was that cold. And, oh man, I don't know how he did it. I had like 4 layers on and a full trench coat and gloves. And I even gave him my gloves and tried giving him a coat. And we had to take it off because we were shooting really quick. We didn't want the light to change.
Yeah.
Luckily, we weren't out there for that long, but a couple of hours out there, dude, it felt like an eternity. And it's crazy. Alec, I'm going to give you the floor for a moment. I just need to take drama out for like 5 minutes, maybe not even that.
How dare you?
But what is something that you want to talk about? Let's think of something for you to talk about before I go.
Think it's something for me to talk about.
Yeah. Oh.
Mashed potatoes.
Mashed potatoes. Let me see. Well, I guess, how about this? Describe the maybe like the new location and why you guys chose it.
Okay.
All right, just it'll give me a moment to take the doggo out. I know, stay right there, Josh. He's giving me that look.
So now everyone's trapped with me. And that's the real problem. As David leaves us to embark on a great quest. Some would say it's a timeless quest, a quest every man must make. Some would argue it's a Sisyphean task. David just pushing that boulder perpetually uphill. But who am I to judge? Aren't we all just pushing boulders uphill? Pushing the boulders of taking your dog out or of finding an apartment. So we found a new apartment. And in this apartment, it's slightly bigger, 2 stories. So hopefully it's not as crappy. But the real question is, are we going to have transients running around? Because that's the problem where I live now. And that's why our stories are so bizarre. It's because this place is on a route taken by lots of homeless people who wander the wastes of the whole complex. Not to mention the place is falling to pieces. It's all falling to pieces. They slapped a new coat of paint on it, but it doesn't hide the inside. You got pieces of the wall falling apart. You got infestations all the time, to the point where I had to go buy my own pest control stuff. Because, they always tell you, well, we're spraying your apartment. We're spraying it. But they're never spraying it. You just got to buy it all yourself. Which is something David had mentioned off camera earlier. Just, sometimes you just got to do stuff yourself when you live in, slum housing, essentially. It's not really a slum, but it's close enough. But, yeah, we just decided to pack up and move, especially because the apartment here wanted to charge us $700 for this place. And, I wouldn't pay $700 for this place if it was new. And thus, he has returned, crashing and bashing his way to the computer. And the real dark secret is that by the time he knows what I've said on this stream, it will already be too late. Forces will already be in motion. Bribes will be paid, and guns will be drawn. All because David Grayson couldn't manage his time better.
All because drama.
Like, David, did you know that in several cities in California, they have microphones that are designed to pick up the sound of gunfire and triangulate where that gunfire might have come from?
Really?
Yes. To the point where they can have the helicopter out within like 20 minutes.
Jeez.
Yes.
That's pretty.
So, while I have the great, vast open plains of the Midwest to escape tyranny, and you, sir, have crawled into the lion's den. Crawled in to the lion's den. Do you hear that noise? That light thumping in the distance? Those are the helicopters. Those are the helicopters coming for you. There's no markings on them. And if you were to call air traffic control and read them the numbers on the side of the helicopters, no one would tell you. They'd say, "Sir, such a craft is not registered in our airways. You must be mistaken." please don't prank call us again. And as they hang up on you, and you hear that thump, 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 thump coming closer and closer to your rooftop, you realize no one's coming to save you. You pick up the phone and you dial 911. But then the 911 operator says, 911, what's your emergency? And hangs up before you can speak. Because there's no emergency services for a man who's about to be unpersoned.
You have called Shia LaBeouf. Shia LaBeouf.
I mean, you're the one who made the mistake of leaving this stream open. And, the truth was said. By the time they mobilize, I'll be long gone.
Ever since you left Yunkai and Astapor, the slavers have returned to power in Slavers Bay.
David, I have a van outside right now. I could be gone in an instant, never to be seen again.
You'll be running a Dunkin' Donuts in Omaha.
Exactly. But you'll be at the bottom of a river or in a deep, dark hole that people like you don't come out of.
Like the Dark Knight Rises?
Testing the newest forms of fluoride that they'll be putting in the water today.
But I broke you. How have you come back?
No one cared who I was until I put on the mask.
The mask.
A lot of good talk for a hired gun.
I mean, a lot of talk for a hired gun.
Little finger.
Perhaps he's wondering why you would shoot a man.
Before throwing him out of a stream.
Exactly.
But, so did you, I guess I need to ask, did you actually talk about your new place?
I did.
Cool. Yeah, I'm looking forward to, we'll be doing streams and stuff, and making stuff while I'm back, like we always do. And we just got to think about what we're going to make.
Yeah.
It's, we'll make something just because, that's what I want. And that's not like that's what I want, but that's what I would like to do with you guys. And it's like, although this place was kind of crummy, this fort was not, this was like Eeyore's fort, you know what I mean? It fell down every time he left it. It's, that's so true. Even though it was like that, we still had a lot of fun memories in there. Spent a lot of time laughing in there, a lot of time just hanging out, eating meals, watching movies. It was great. And it'll only be better at the new place, and we'll probably get better times out of it. And it'll definitely probably look better on screen. Hard to beat this last place. Because also you guys are getting a new couch. Did you mention you're getting a new couch?
I did not.
Well,
didn't seem important.
It didn't until now. Now it's your couch is on your banners. My banners, not yours. Not a brown. Yours, no. It's they have this couch that you've seen it in almost all of the shorts. It was in the Saber Project. It was in American Myth. It was in Ray and Bill, I think. It's been in everything. And it looks like it's been in everything. Over the years, it has degraded hard because we've all passed out drunk on it. We've all jumped on it. We've all sat and watched movies on it. And eaten countless meals and spilled stuff on it and all that stuff. It It was time for it to go. It basically was about a foot. From the moment I started going over to Alex's place, it lowered about a foot.
Yep, and then we put it outside, and then someone took it.
So think about how desperate that person really is, and value your own life.
Exactly.
You know, maybe Stabby Leg. Maybe he took it. Maybe Stabby Leg took it. Did you hear me?
All of them.
Stabby Joe, McLeg.
He took it himself. So that's the thing. Like after he's fully recovered from his stab wounds, he returned to full strength. He's like,
is he like the monster in Suicide Squad, where it's like he absorbs people's life energy and then he's able to then grow a fire crown on his head?
I was gonna say he's more like a Dragon Ball Z character, you know.
Oh yeah.
And it's like he gets beat the first time, but then he comes back.
He says, "Hey man, this isn't even my final form."
He's like, ah.
You've only seen me at level 8,000, not 9,000. I'm Dragon Ball Z. We keep adding thousands to our mythos. Really adds to the Dragon Ball Z mythos. It's about family, and that's what's important.
But it's really about his family.
And that's what's so great about it. I was watching, by the way, did you watch the Mr. Plinkett review or listen to that?
Oh, the new one?
Yeah.
Yep, I did.
What did you think?
I liked it.
Well worth the wait. Thought they'd never do one again. You can tell how much people wanted it. It's already at like 500,000 views, and it's only been up for a day.
I think it's a good video, though.
Yeah, it's. I'm glad he made one about that. It's kind of an important movie to make one about. But Alec and I, sorry, this is back to the bad movie night. I was mentioning this earlier, the Facebook stream that I was doing, where I was having difficulties editing our bad movie night. As if any of you have been keeping up to date with the channel, you saw that I posted like a 42-minute long bad movie night review where we watched the movie from 1996, Crash Dive. And that same night, we watched 2 other movies. The whole point is I was supposed to edit them months ago, you know, back before I moved out, and me being the procrastinating fuck that I am, didn't get around to it for a couple of months. But then when I started getting to it, I realized that it's really hard to find these fucking movies online in their entirety. And sure enough, I end up finding one or 2 links to the movie. But the biggest problem was that to avoid copyright strikes and everything like that, and the algorithms finding that they uploaded the full movie, they put it down in the corner, so it's only about this big out of the frame. And they also changed the speed on the movie. And so when I pulled the movie in, I found out that I needed to adjust it to like 91% speed in order to get it to match the time that we watched it. What I didn't realize is that when I was editing it, that when I would shorten the clip and I would trim it just by pulling the ends in, it was then taking 91% speed of that, not the full clip that I had originally done. So it slowed it down even more. And it just kind of condensed it and condensed it and condensed it. And I was wondering why I kept getting fucked off. It's like, well, once I adjust the speed overall, it should just sync. You know what I mean? If one line syncs from it, then all of them should. Surely, and that's just not the way it was. Now, granted, I could be wrong, and Alec has said this, proposed this earlier too, that it could be that they, you know, adjusted the speeds throughout it. Like they just go, this part's normal speed, this part's fast, this part's normal, this part's fast. And if they did, that sucks because good luck figuring that shit out. But that one's coming along a little bit faster. I'm already like 4 or 5 minutes into editing that one, and I only think it's going to be about 25 minutes long. So that'll be good. And if I could find that movie Corn from 2004, that would be amazing.
You'll never find it.
Probably never.
I'll just have to like FedEx it to you or some shit.
I don't even know what I'd do with it.
Well, you'd play it on a DVD and then record it with your camera. That's the only way you could do it.
Yeah, well, that's so much fucking trouble for it. It's like, and we had initially done like a roundtable discussion at the end, but we were all too drunk by the end. Like, it's very noticeable, mostly with Kyle, that he was way too drunk. He was like singing over Alec explaining some parts of the movie. I was just too drunk to handle it. So all of us at our drunkest, Alec's like, well, here's what happened. And because Alec will take pauses when he's drunk, he'll just be like, brr.
Yeah, it's like, brr, brr, brr.
Brr, brr, brr. And then Kyle's like, blah, like he'll just yell. He'll yell over you while you're drunk, and he does goofier shit. He's a happy drunk, but he's just like, he's overwhelming at this point because he was really hammered. And then I was drunk enough to the point where like my tolerance level for him being loud and Alec being slower to respond was at an all-time low. So I'm like, shut up, guys. The whole thing is like us telling each other to shut up. And I was like, well, we can't use that. It wouldn't make a whole lot of sense. And we didn't go for long enough anyway. I think the camera died or something.
Yeah.
Or we ran out of video card space. But anyway, all that aside, the point is that we're saying goodbye to the Brown Fort, a place that we've had countless memories in, but we will have even bigger and better memories in the new place, the new Brown Fort. And when we do one of these streams the next time, when Alec is there, or if Kyle and Alec are both there, then you will get to see the new place in the background of where Alec is. And it won't have that big pile of clothes back there, and it may still have a Star Wars picture. I'm not saying that it won't have a Star Wars picture. Don't hold me to it. Okay? You know, maybe it'll have that bad one that David bought of Rogue One that he didn't know that the movie would end up being hated. Like,
yeah,
later. Okay? You know, maybe David didn't know.
No one knew.
But
that's the real tragedy.
David bought a cool Batman one.
Yep.
And maybe that'll be there. And I have to send Alec a little note that he has to get. I'm still looking forward to doing it. It's not a big deal, but it's just like I want to show you it so bad on stream here. But damn it, gosh, I want to show it so fucking bad.
Well, you can't.
I can't.
No.
It'll ruin the magic of it. So, but yeah, so long to the Brown Fort, and hello to the Brown Fort 2.0.
Yep. With that, I think we should call it a night. I actually have to be up in a couple, sooner than later to start moving. So
yeah, it's like 2 a.m. there, and Alec has to do this first thing in the morning. So it was a good stream. Thank you, Alec, and thank you, Kyle, for whenever he does end up seeing this. Sorry that he couldn't come back in time, but it's all right. We still had some good times while he was there, and we mentioned plenty of Kyle's related stories. So
yes, we did.
I'll go ahead and give the floor to Alec to sign off really quick. Alec?
See you later, people.
All right, and I'm David Grayson. That was Alec Brown, my best friend, and Kyle Brown, my other best friend. This has been The Walking David, catching up week from fort to fort, and we will catch you later, everybody. Have a good night.